Welcome, welcome to the Home Services Home Show where you learn a lot that you need to and a whole lot you don't. We've got a different face on the show today. Joe, welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
So Joe is he's the money guy in the business now, aka a bean counter, aka the guy that keeps me in check because I'm very free when it comes to buying stuff. So everything has to get run through you.
That's
How's that
that's
going?
fair. Yeah, yeah.
I
You,
guess
you
it could run
know,
through you. You're like the yay or nay guy.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You're
It's
pretty
a
much a yay
difficult
guy though,
task.
usually.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Midwestern in me for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't like me to like run fishing rods and stuff like that through the company, which I completely understand.
But you're a good salesman, so you know how to swing
You
it
could
in that
probably
way,
twist that. No, we
right?
gotta
Like,
take a company fishing
how
trip.
else do you get the bundles on the roof, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So, um, Joe, you're relatively new to the company.
mhm.
Um, you were brought on to really keep finances in check. Why don't you give us a little background of you personally, professionally, where you
Sure.
came from, and tell us something interesting like that is new to you when it comes to home improvement. Like what is stuck out coming into this company?
Sure. Yeah. So, well, my name's Joe. I have a pretty heavy finance background. I did public accounting for the beginning part of my career, and then I jumped over to a bank and was a controller there for a publicly traded bank. So, a lot of experience in the accounting and finance world. I got to have a little fun stint, and I worked in the liquor and beer distributor area.
Mhm.
So that had its perks for sure, as you can
Did you
imagine.
get free samples?
Free samples and a little bit of a discount. You still had a hard time getting allocated bottles, but you knew people at least,
Yeah.
so
I
it
used to
helped.
love it. I ran a restaurant for a while, right at the tail end of college and then out of college, and, it was a restaurant bar, and the liquor and beer sales reps would come in,
Hmm.
and I would find myself, like, on a Friday morning at 9 o'clock taking sample shots of different types of vodka. Like, "This is gonna be a good day.
Yeah,
This is totally legal because I have to do this right now."
it was actually like the first week at that job, and it was Friday when they had their sales meetings. And I go into the kitchen, and they literally had like bar trays full of shots. I was like, "What is going on right
Yeah.
now?"
You gotta
Like,
try it before you sell it,
yeah,
right?
I can't say I had the same experience coming to the home improvement realm, but
No,
I
sorry.
definitely learned a lot about just all that goes into it. There's so many moving pieces that I was just unaware of. As a homeowner, you hire someone to fix your roof. Well, one day you go to work and you come back and you have a new roof, and it
Mhm.
really was like that. But you never realize like all of the planning that goes before it, all the way from the call center rep taking the lead, making sure it gets assigned to the right sales rep, getting them there timely to make sure that you have both decision makers there. And then on top of that, you have to get all the materials there and make sure everything goes without a hitch. And then with roofing, you have the element of weather, which, as we know, in Wisconsin, that can change like that. And
Me
so,
and that's one of the main reasons why we started doing insulation and became experts from the attic up was honestly something that we could do in the winter,
yeah,
as well as homeowners asking us, like, most people don't know. If I would have said to you, "Hey, when we come over to give you an estimate on your roof, we really need to get in your attic." You'd be like, "Huh?
why?
Why?"
Yeah,
That's because half of your roof is only visible from your attic. We need to be able to see the underdecking because when we can look at the underdecking, it makes it very clear if there's a leak somewhere.
sure.
So if you're getting an estimate and they don't ever want to access your attic, it's kind of a red light for me. Like,
Okay.
because you're missing so much if you can't be.
Interesting.
And sometimes people won't let us look up there. They're like, because sometimes the scuttle's like in a closet and it's full. Like, I get that.
Mhm.
But it's a real quick inspection. It's not like they gotta get up and, like, walk around the whole attic. It's more like kinda peek at some valley areas, at main areas of concern, because that's where we can really just see more that way.
That's interesting. So, like, when you have a house that has vaulted ceilings, like, how do you go about that, right?
Well, Joe, on those, we don't get in
No
the
kidding.
attic. Because typically on that house now, when you take a vaulted ceiling, now you're taking, a much smaller area, from the outside roof to the inside. We're probably talking maybe this,
Right.
right? And if there is a leak, you're gonna know.
That's fair.
You're gonna know. You're gonna see it on your ceiling. Whereas a leak on a regular roof with a regular attic, you got more like 16, 17 inches of insulation, and that has to leak a lot to soak through the insulation to then show its ugly head in your ceiling.
Fair.
So
Okay. That makes
yeah.
sense.
So besides all the moving parts, anything else that surprised you?
Um,
I'm gonna go with no.
yeah, I mean, I was trying to there definitely is. That's just underselling it. And you know, one thing I guess that sticks out is you guys use the phrase dumb roofer math. And
It's usually pretty accurate though, isn't
it's
it?
damn accurate. Like it really is. Like it kind of blew me away the first few times. I was like,
Yeah, I don't got an MBA, but we do have dumb roofer math as we call it.
which it checks out most of the time. It gets
Yeah.
you close enough for sure. And just like how you guys figure out where you're gonna end up on a job without even having to like dive into it. Like I don't know. To me, I found that fascinating because I'm a numbers guy, right? So like when you can get things to work out quickly like that, like I'm impressed.
Yeah, but that takes years of screwing up. I
That's
mean,
fair.
it's really what it comes down to is years of screwing up. Um, Small Business Administration did a study, and what they found was that 90, 90 say 100 businesses go into business today. Within 2 years, 94 of them will be out of business.
Sure.
Now, that's not because they're selling a bad product. That's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't know how much to charge.
Hmm.
So, what we do know through 15 years plus of experiences, we've made enough mistakes that we know how much we need to charge to finish the job so the customer's happy, we're happy. But the biggest part is having enough money left over to continue to grow, to stay in business so that we can be around for another 15 years to service those customers and guarantee our warranties. Most people just don't know what to charge.
Hmm.
And then eventually they run into cash flow problems and then they just can't make it happen anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how did you make it through that first mistake, right? Like, there's so many that happen.
Um, I was lucky to have some pretty good mentors. I will say that. I didn't learn it all on my own.
Mhm.
Did make mistakes. I'll tell you this. The first roofing job we ever did was sold by my old sales manager and dear friend, rest his soul, Bob Militello. He said, "Hey, I got a lead. He said we're going to start doing roofing." And for the longest time, I didn't want to. We just wanted to do gutters, but customers kept asking and asking and asking. So finally, we partnered with GAF, and they kind of came knocking on our door, and they're like, "Look, we're actually hearing a lot about you. You're working on a lot of homes. Do you want to do roofing?" Well, I had done roofing before. I had sold roofing before. Just didn't know if I wanted to add it to our repertoire.
Sure.
Well, we did, and the first roof that we did was about 45 squares, really cut up, 200 feet of sidewall flashing. And we sold this roof for $16,000. I think all in, the roof ended up costing us about $28,000.
Whoops.
It was not good.
The
The financial controller would have been really upset at that one.
That's
And
fair.
I literally remember that day going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
But you stuck with it.
And you know what? We made some mistakes on that roof, and we paid for them. But in the end, homeowner was really, really, really happy. We didn't screw anything up. We just
Mm.
didn't bid it correctly.
Right.
We didn't know what we were doing. Homeowner was happy. They're a great reference. I still could drive to their house. Like they probably live close to you. They live out by Middleton,
Okay.
out just outside of between Middleton and Cross Plains, and great people. But after that, I was like, okay, this is not gutters. It is not that simple. We need to sit down, dive into all the parts and pieces. We make sure to price this correctly, as well as measure it correctly, because that was the main reason.
Yeah. We
But
still see that today, right? Like,
it happens. And like back then, we didn't have Eagle View and stuff like that. And now they've got Eagle View and Quick Square and all of these satellite imagery measuring tools, but they're not always 100% on either. So we have to be able to measure them on our own. But
well, and you brought up like gutters and all the different pieces. That is actually something that surprised me as well. Is like everything that goes into something like gutters. When you look at it, you're like, oh, it's just this piece of metal up there. But I mean, the fact that it can hold someone's body weight and they can do pull-ups, like, that
Producer
thing's
Shane,
enforced.
what'd you do a couple years ago that everybody thought was fake? We did pull ups and then we hung 600 pounds of human from. Have you seen that?
Uh-uh.
They did an experiment and they weighed the guys and they hung him and two installers with their tool belts on from the gutter
Wow.
with 611 pounds, I believe. And all we got was that's fake. They're laying on their backs. He'll put a photo up of it. Got that somewhere, right? Yeah. So it is the strongest gutter. It's the biggest gutter. When we say it can hold a lot, it can hold a lot of weight.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's not just gutters. Like it's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it.
Right.
And you see how we schedule it. Like it is a seamless thing. Hey, so and so is going to be out this day to remeasure your house and drop your material. The next day, the guys are going to be there. They're going to get it done. The house is going to look like we were not there.
I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong that don't go wrong on a majority, if not all the jobs, right? Like, obviously, you have little things that happen here and
Nobody's
there.
perfect.
Right.
We try to be perfect. So I just wanted to ask you, like, so as a homeowner, we're constantly saying like, give your questions, your concerns, and we obviously talk a lot about insulation, which I like to refer to as home performance, your insulation, your ventilation, your air sealing, roofing, and gutters.
Mhm.
But as a homeowner, what are some concerns that you have, like things that there's got to be things that every homeowner has that gives them a sleepless night every once in a while.
Yeah, that's fair. Gave it a little thought. In Wisconsin, it gets real cold.
Mhm.
And so, like, when it gets uncomfortable in the house, like we were talking a little bit before, some of my windows, they get very frosted. And it's like, oh gosh, like, is this an actual issue with the window or not? And that was one thing that keeps me up. But, you put a lot of investment into your home, right? Like, this is, for most people, their largest investment. And, like,
99% of people.
yeah, and so it's like what am I doing to protect that asset?
Mhm.
And sometimes I know enough to be dangerous, but I know I'm no contractor.
Yeah.
And
You had mentioned to me that the frost on the windows.
mhm.
You should probably spend 100 grand and just get all new windows. No, I'm kidding.
And you guys sell them, right?
We don't. No, we don't. But then I asked you, we were talking about this beforehand, and I asked you a couple questions. You told me that they're metal clad windows
Yeah.
on the inside and out, which means that they're probably more of an industrial commercial application type window, very custom. Where do you live? Hmm.
On the hills of town of
This
Middleton.
guy's good with his money. He's got all metal clad windows. Anyway, I know whose house it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they build. It's a home builder, and they build very premier homes. So good for you. But it's metal, and so what's going to happen with metal? Heat and cold is going to conduct through metal
Hmm.
much differently than it does through vinyl or wood, right?
Yep.
Like I mentioned, the windows in our building are all metal, and what's happened over time is they condensate so badly that it's rotted out all the sills. We have to replace all the sills. So
Right.
you're dealing with a situation like that. There's nothing wrong with the window.
Hmm.
It is just a temperature difference. So that metal around that edging is going to get really cold. And I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the frost and freezing is coming in the corners and on the bottom,
Yep.
most likely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it condensates and then it runs down and it stops there and then it freezes.
Interesting.
So there's nothing wrong.
Hmm.
There's nothing you can really do to fix it. It just is what it is. It's living in Wisconsin and having metal clad windows.
That's fair. I mean, I guess we could pick up the house and move it, but that's not exactly
Correct. But
thing.
a lot of people would be calling because I used to do windows when I was in the Twin Cities. And, I've got moisture on the inside of my windows, this and that. Well, what happens is you put a newer window in, it's actually a much better window. It's going to hold heat and moisture in better than those old windows because they're not leaky. So now none of that moisture, that air can get through. There's not as much air movement. There's not as much conduction. And now we've got moisture on the inside of our windows. It's not bad. That's something else to look at is, do you have a whole home humidifier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you keep it at? What's the humidity on the inside of your house in the winter?
Probably mid 40s to 50.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I've been to people's homes where they're complaining after the new windows, and I go there and, well, they have their humidity set at 80.
Sure.
Yeah, your lucky water's not dripping from your
No
ceiling.
kidding.
So the humidity in your home is a big
Yeah.
thing too. I have a new home myself. I get some condensation on the inside of my windows. I went down and looked at the whole home humidifier, and it was at like 60 some percent. I'm like, well,
There you
that's
go.
an issue.
Feels comfy though.
Yeah. Normally, there's enough air movement that it might not happen. But I was up in my daughter's room the other day, and she's a teenager. She always has her shades shut.
Sure.
I open them, moisture all over the windows. And I was like, we need to open these windows up a little bit, or open these shades up, get some airflow through here. Otherwise, this could actually start like molding.
Oh wow.
There's no air movement hitting it. So
I mean,
things
that's
you don't think of.
right. Yeah. No, you don't until you have a house and you have to. But it's like, I mean, you bring up those points, and there's just like little things you can do along the way to
Mm-hmm.
kind of prevent bigger problems
Yeah.
from happening.
Check. Yeah. What's your humidity at? What's the humidity at in your house? A few years ago, we had a lady that we did basically an ultimate attic solution for her before it was called the ultimate
Oh,
attic
sure.
solution. And she was getting condensation and mold up like in the top plates of her house. Like you could see it on the inside. And she thought it was our fault. Well, really what had happened is we made her house super tight.
Mm.
She also had what I would like to call a rainforest in her house of plants. She had over 80 plants in her home. What are you doing with plants all the time?
How much time do you have to go water all those plants?
Well, I, probably she has a lot of time, but you're watering your plants all the time, and plants give off moisture. And so the humidity at her house was 90%. So now you've got a 90% humidity home, and now it's sealed up really tight. Moisture's got nowhere to go. And your ceiling, no matter, I don't care how much insulation you have, it's going to be colder than it's a temperature difference.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we could do for her. She needed to drop the humidity and or put in a couple fans that would run all the time, like bathroom fans. Sometimes you put them in a
Wow.
hall, they just run constantly, move air.
Is there such thing as too tight of a house?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where you run into problems like she had. We made her house really tight. She had new windows put in a couple years prior, and then we made it really, really tight. And then you put on top of it all that extra moisture from plants and all that. And yeah, she had a problem. She turned her house into like well, not a humidor. That's a humidor. What's a humidor for? Is that for cigars?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a thing that you could grow little plants in, and it's like its own ecosystem?
Like a greenhouse kind of.
Terrarium?
I
I don't know. Anyway,
don't know.
her home was really, really damp.
That's on the roofing manual. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the home was really damp, and there was nowhere for it to go.
That's fair.
So, um,
Unless you're growing mushrooms, I don't think you really want to do that.
no, I don't. Anyway, but we see stuff like that. So when we see issues like the windows or on the ceiling, like there's usually more to it. There's usually a lot more to it. So that's the type of stuff that we have to become experts on, because especially when it comes to insulation, ventilation, the way your home performs, the way it breathes and ventilates. If you don't do it right, you can actually make people's situations worse.
Oh
I
wow.
know this because we've done it
Sure.
and we've learned from it. We've always fixed our mistakes, but it's taken years to get to that point, because when you look at the home science of insulation and ventilation, like this has changed drastically over the past 30 years. Like it's all completely different. Yes, you can make a home too tight. You got to make sure it breathes. You got to make sure it's ventilated. That's why you go to a lot of old homes. They didn't have soffit overhangs with ventilation. Like they didn't understand that stuff. I mean, we've insulated walls that were stuffed with horsehair, for real. Like you go back to a home downtown Madison that's
Sure.
from mid 1800s. Like they stuffed whatever they could in the wall. You
Wow.
couldn't go to the building store and buy insulation. Newspaper, old clothes, horsehair, straw.
Wow.
You find it all.
Some nice
So,
kindling right there.
yeah, I would go up real quick. So,
Mhm.
anything else that sticks out in your head as a homeowner, besides obviously the roofing, the gutters are super important. If there's not, there's not. I know you were like, no, I think of like interest rates and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Being a finance guy for sure. It's like, how do you leverage appropriately? That's always a big thing, which I
I
know.
bet you weren't a guy to overpay on a house, were you?
You know, I can't say that. So my wife also works real estate,
So
right?
she knows.
Yeah, so she's also got the appraiser background as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so we play the game, right? Like we use our equity, we roll it forward. We've done that quite a bit. It helps that she gets her commission, things like that. So we're very
Ah.
intentional with the moves that we make. Um,
So this one, is this a forever home?
I've learned never to say that. The last home I thought was forever, for sure. But then, life happens and we had to find a bigger home. My mother-in-law actually moved in. So
That's right.
like we had a big life change there. So, it's definitely something I've learned to not like say forever or never.
Yeah. No, I said that about ours, and now my wife's always like, "Well, we should do this, and we should do this," and I'm like, "We should just build a different house." She goes, "Well, maybe." I'm like, oh my god, stop,
Yeah, like you can't put that
stop,
out in the universe. It's just gonna happen.
stop. We're not. It's not happening. But yeah, I mean, honestly, besides like the main things of having roof inspected, making sure the gutters are clean, making sure the drainage is proper going away from your home, changing furnace filters. For the most part, nowadays, a lot of homes that are being built, there's not a lot of maintenance required.
Yeah.
There's really not, you know? We don't use siding that typically we have to paint. Roofs last a long time. Gutters, soffit fascia, trim, they're metal. They typically don't have to have anything done to them. So, if we're taking care of water management, our roof isn't leaking, our furnace and AC are working properly, pretty good to go.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely had houses where we were lower, so we had like water issues. So it was interesting you
Mm.
brought that up. Like we were at the bottom of a hill and it would just run towards our house. It's like, well, we didn't think about that.
You know how many times I've tried to deal with that problem with people?
It's not fun.
Like, "Wow, our gutters aren't working." Well, actually, they are,
Yeah,
but all 6 of your neighbors' yards run into yours.
right. And their gutters are
"I should
working
sue the
too.
builder." I don't know, I'm pretty sure you're the one that bought it.
Yeah. That's on you now at this
Yeah,
point.
but we had it inspected. Don't really think home inspectors look at stuff like that.
No.
They're gonna look at the immediate drainage around your home, but,
But
yeah, I've
ultimately
seen it,
still
so
bought the house, right? So
you bought it. So, we'll have you on again, and we'll get some more questions from you, like, or more concerns.
okay.
Um, you can maybe start being a regular, like, once a quarter or something.
All
You
right.
know? Get you away from counting beans. Talk on the
That's
podcast.
fair. All
So,
right. I'll bring a little personality outside of what you do.
awesome. So, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and, we'll see you soon again.